all began in a quiet suburb of Illinois, where a man named Mark Shields lived an ordinary life. To his neighbors, he was a calm, polite man, someone who waved when mowing the lawn and smiled at kids riding bikes. But behind that smile, Mark's life was falling apart. His marriage was crumbling, his business was failing, and his anger was growing each day. One night, alone in his dimly lit room, Mark opened his laptop and searched for something that would change his life forever. How to hire a hitman. At first he thought it was a joke. A dark web forum popped up, full of strange usernames and coded messages. Posts read like movie lines: "Job's done clean, no witnesses, Bitcoin only." Mark felt a chill was teased out. Could someone really buy death online? Curiosity soon turned into obsession. He spent nights scrolling through the darkest corners of the internet, exploring websites that looked like something out of a nightmare. One name appeared again and again: Bessa Mafia. It claimed to be a professional hitman service, available to anyone who could pay in cryptocurrency. The website was simple but terrifying. It had a menu like an online store. Assault $5,000, kidnapping $20,000, murder $30,000. Everything looked disturbingly professional. Dere, were, iban. Customer views saying, "Job done fast, we'll use again." Mark couldn't believe what he was seeing. It felt unreal, like a video game, but the thought of revenge kept echoing in his mind. After a week of hesitation, he created an anonymous account. He sent his first message: "I need someone gone. Can you make it look like an accident?" A reply came within hours. "Yes. Send details and 50% upfront in Bitcoin." Mark's hands shook as he typed his wife's name. He transferred the money, almost $15,000 worth of Bitcoin, and waited. That night, he couldn't sleep. The sound of his own breathing felt heavy, and every passing car outside made his heart pound. He had just ordered a murder from his computer. Days passed. No word from Bessa Mafia. Mark grew anxious. He checked the site daily, reading other posts from users discussing jobs, failed hits, and updates. But what Mark didn't know was that Bessa Mafia wasn't real. It was a fake, a scam created by hackers pretending to be professional killers. And behind the screen, the FBI was watching every message. The agency had been investigating dark web murder for hire sites for months. They tracked every Bitcoin payment, every IP address, and every chat log. Mark's messages stood out because of how desperate he sounded. Agents quietly began building a case. They didn't stop him, not yet. They wanted to see how far he would go. A week later, Mark received another message. Target located, work in progress, A-filter relief. Mixed with guilt, he told himself it was justice, not murder. But as the days went by, something strange happened. A new email appeared in his inbox. This time, not from the dark web. It was from an unknown sender. "We know what you did. The FBI is watching. You have 24 hours to confess." Mark froze. Sweat ran down his neck. He tried to log into the Bessa Mafia site. It was gone. The dark web link no longer worked. Panic set in. He realized he wasn't dealing with killers. He was dealing with law enforcement. His plan had fallen apart, and his secret was no longer safe. In that moment, he understood one horrifying truth. If you go deep enough into the internet's shadows, there's no coming back. And the hitman he hired was actually the trap that would destroy him. Mark Shields sat in his living room, frozen. His laptop screen still showed that last message: "The FBI is watching. You have 24 hours to confess." His hands trembled as he tried to breathe normally. Every sound felt louder: the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, the wind brushing against the window. It felt like someone was outside, watching. He checked his phone, deleted messages, and cleared his browser history. But it was too late. The FBI had already been following his every move. What Mark didn't know was that the so-called Bessa Mafia website was part of a larger sting operation. It wasn't run by real hitmen. It was a fake platform created by cyber agents to catch people exactly like him. The investigation started months earlier when the FBI, as cybercrimes unit, discovered dark websites advertising professional killers for hire. These sites promised to commit violent crimes in exchange for Bitcoin. Hundreds of people had contacted them, leaving behind a digital trail. When Mark sent his payment and filled in the target information, the FBI quietly flagged his account. Agents began tracking every click, every message, and every transfer he made. They even recovered the Bitcoin he sent. Slowly, they pieced together the man behind the anonymous username, Silent Wolf 89. The digital mask came off, and Mark Shields' real identity was revealed. One cold morning, an undercover agent posing as a dark web contact reached out to him through an encrypted email. Job completed. Target neutralized. We need final payment. Mark's heart skipped a beat. He believed the murder had been done. His wife was still alive and safe at home, but Mark didn't know that. In his mind, the crime had already happened. He transferred another $15,000 in Bitcoin, sealing his fate completely. That final transaction gave the FBI all the evidence they needed. A week later at 6 a.m., there was a knock on the door. Bang, bang, bang. FBI. Open up. Mark opened the door, his face pale, hands shaking. Agents rushed in, pointing their guns, shouting commands. He dropped to his knees as his wife screamed in confusion. Within seconds, he was handcuffed, and his laptop was seized. On the screen, still open, was the Bessa Mafia website. At the local police station, the interrogation room was cold and silent. Two agents entered, placing a thick file on the table. Mark Shields, one of them said calmly, "We know everything. You tried to hire a hitman on the dark web. You paid in Bitcoin. You described your wife, her location, and her daily routine. You even asked for it to look like an accident." Mark couldn't speak. His lips trembled as tears filled his eyes. He tried to explain that he was angry, broken, desperate, that he never really wanted her dead. But the FBI had heard it all before. To them, intent didn't matter. The act of hiring a killer did. Meanwhile, the FBI's operation went public. The Bessa Mafia website turned out to be a major sting that had trapped over 30 people across different states, all of them trying to buy murder online. It was one of the biggest dark web investigations in U.S. history. The media exploded with headlines. The dark web hitman trap. Dozens arrested in online murder for hire scheme. Mark's face appeared on the news that night. Neighbors were shocked. The man they thought was quiet and kind had secretly tried to kill his own wife through the internet. Reporters called it a modern crime born in the shadows of technology. In prison, Mark replayed the same thought over and over, how a few clicks had destroyed his entire life. He kept thinking about that first night when he typed "hire a hitman." It seemed harmless at the time. Just curiosity. But curiosity became temptation, and temptation turned into crime. During the trial, his defense lawyer argued that Mark never meant to go through with it. But the evidence was too strong. Chat logs, Bitcoin transactions, and his own confession sealed the verdict. The judge called it a crime of cowardice, an obsession. Mark was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for using interstate commerce facilities in the commission of a murder-for-hire plot. His wife divorced him, and his house was sold to pay legal fees. From behind bars, Mark watched as his story became a cautionary tale online. Featured in news reports, YouTube documentaries, and podcasts, he had become a symbol of how dangerous and deceptive the dark web could be. He once thought he was invisible behind the screen, but in the end, it was the screen that exposed him. After his arrest, Mark Shields became just another number in a system full of broken stories. But his case was only a small part of something much bigger, something that revealed just how dangerous and deceptive the internet could truly be. The FBI called their investigation Operation Dark Domain, a digital trap set to catch those who believed murder could be bought like a product. What started as a small cybercrime probe soon exposed one of the most disturbing realities of the online world. People were trying to use the internet not for business or communication, but for death. The fake Hitman website, Bessa Mafia, had fooled hundreds of users around the world. Some were angry spouses, others business rivals, and a few were people who simply wanted revenge. They all thought they were talking to real assassins, They sent detailed information: names, photos, addresses, and money, never realizing that each message was being read by law enforcement. For the FBI, it was like watching crime evolve in real time. Old motives, jealousy, greed, hate, were being powered by new tools like Bitcoin, Tor browsers, and encrypted chats. The dark web had become the perfect hiding place for evil intentions. But as investigators discovered, no one was truly hidden. Every click left a trace, and every digital mask could eventually be lifted. While Mark sat in prison, news of his case spread across the internet. YouTube channels, podcasts, and true crime blogs began covering the dark web Hitman case. People were shocked. They couldn't believe that ordinary individuals, not gangsters or criminals, but regular citizens, had tried to commit murder online. The story raised one haunting question: how many others were still out there, waiting for the right website to appear? In one interview, a cyber agent described the case perfectly. "The dark web promises privacy," he said, "but it's the biggest illusion on the internet. People think they can hide behind screens, but every shadow online has light behind it." That quote became famous, repeated across documentaries and crime shows. The illusion of safety on the dark web had been shattered. The more people tried to hide, the more the system learned to find them. In the years that followed, dozens of similar operations were launched worldwide. Agents went undercover, pretending to be hitmen, hackers, or drug dealers. Each time, they caught people who thought they were invisible. Some were teenagers experimenting with the dark web. Others were adults looking for revenge. But they all made the same mistake: trust in the internet too much. Mark's case became part of a larger conversation about technology, morality, and human nature. It showed that, even with all our progress, the darkest corners of the human mind still find new ways to express themselves. The internet wasn't indeed the problem. It was the people behind the screens who brought their real-world rage online. In prison, Mark spent most of his time alone. He started writing letters, not to his ex-wife or friends, but to cybersecurity students at a nearby university. In those letters, he warned them about how easy it was to lose control once you entered the dark web. One of his lines read, "I thought I was hiring someone to end a life, but I was really signing the end of my own." That letter later went viral after being published in a digital crime magazine. It became a symbol of regret and a reminder that technology can never erase accountability. By the time Mark was released, the world had moved on. The dark web had grown even larger, but the FBI had also grown stronger. Artificial intelligence and digital tracking made it almost impossible for people to hide like before. Yet, new websites always appeared. New promises of invisible power. New traps waiting for those who couldn't resist temptation. The story of the dark web hitman became more than just a case. It became a lesson that in the age of technology, the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun or a knife. It's a keyboard. Because once a person crosses that digital line from thought to action, the illusion of control disappears. And what remains is a truth older than the internet itself. Every crime leaves a trace.